옆좌석.
예, 스탠바이. 예, 시작.
Okay, Mongolia is one of those countries in the world that are endowed with vast mineral resources that could give great potential for Mongolian economy to make strides towards the future prosperity and the future prosperity of children. But like many other countries, Mongolia is also facing big challenges from the vast mineral resources, the nature of mineral resources, and the commodity market cycle are very volatile and unpredictable, which means that the economy dependent on the commodity market and natural resources could also experience a volatile cycle, which sometimes the economy is called a boom bust cycle. So to prevent these economic fluctuations and economic boom bust cycles, we need some great tool or mechanism to insulate the economy from the external shocks or fluctuations of the commodity market cycles. In many countries, they use a mechanism called the sovereign wealth fund. So in sovereign wealth fund has two types of fund. First one is called rainy day fund, which means the country should save in good times and then use the savings to support the economy in bad times. And another type of the sovereign wealth fund is called long-term savings fund. That is basically the country could start saving from mineral resources and using the savings that are accumulated for the future generations in the future when the natural resources are exhaustive. So in the future, Mongolia would have to face the future without natural resources. That time, then the huge savings that are accumulated from the current mineral reserves could be used to support the economy. So in that sense, the World Bank, and together with the Ministry of Finance, have been developing and supporting the mechanism of savings from mineral resources from 2012 and 2013. And recently, the Ministry of Finance and the government of Mongolia adopted the Sovereign Wealth Fund law, which is focused on the long-term savings function of the sovereign wealth fund. So going forward, now the Mongolia Sovereign Wealth Fund is at the initial stage. So the biggest task for now is to make the sovereign wealth fund functional so that after 2 or 3 years later, Mongolia have a functioning and stabilizing sovereign wealth funds that could be used to insulate the Mongolian economy of future volatile fluctuations in the commodity cycle. So in that sense, working on the sovereign wealth fund with the support of general public and the political circle would be a great task for the Mongolia to solidify its economic foundation and the path towards the stable and sustainable development path in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, let's do this thing. Yes, sir. 아까 그 처음부터 말고 마지막 부분에서 방금 이분이 이제 카메라 앞으로 이제 지나가가지고 실수를 좀 만들었어요. 방금. 네, 마지막 부분만.
마지막 부분 어떤 부분이죠?
잘 모르겠는데 제가 영어로 왔으니까.
Okay, then Ministry of Finance 정도부터.
예. 그리고 좀 따라서 좀 국제적인 경험에서 좀 말씀하시는 거죠.
The Ministry of Finance하고 월드뱅크가 무슨 일을 하는지.
예.
잠깐 브리프하게 이제 다른 나라 경험 얘기했는데 한 문장 정도로.
예, 된다. 그리고 하고 싶은 분이 이제 하고 싶은 그 부분들이 다 하시면 우리 거기서 이제 잘라서 필요한 거는 이제
오케이.
그러니까 이제 뭐 하고 싶은 대로 말씀하시면 괜찮아요.
오케이.
이제 머리 좀 조금 예.
Okay. Start. Okay, so given the volatile nature of the commodity market cycle, the Ministry of Finance of Mongolia and the World Bank has been working together to establish a new sovereign wealth fund mechanism as a great tool to stabilize the fiscal policy and insulate the economy from the volatile commodity market cycle. To this end, we've looked into various examples from many countries, including Chile, Norway, or Botswana. That are all exemplary countries that were successfully able to insulate the economy from external shocks. So in looking at these countries, for example, Chile, they had two types of sovereign wealth fund, rainy day fund and long-term savings fund. And combining these both two, Chile has been demonstrated as one of the most stable country in the world, even though it's also very vulnerable to external commodity market cycle. So based on our studies and examples on other countries, the Ministry of Finance have worked so long on the new sovereign wealth fund legal framework, and recently they've adopted the new sovereign wealth fund law, which would make the Mongolia safe in the good times and use the savings in the bad times. And also, Mongolia could use accumulated savings for the long-term savings for purpose and use the savings in the future when Mongolia does not have vast mineral resources anymore due to the finite nature of the mineral resources. So to this end, now the legal framework has been established, and the biggest task right now is for the Ministry of Finance and the government of Mongolia, with the support of other development partners, continue to work on to operationalize the new sovereign wealth fund management framework. So we need a good governance system that makes the new sovereign wealth fund entity independent from political powers, whereas also we need professional expertise in the people who manages and operationalize the sovereign wealth fund mechanism. So it's not a short-term process. It will take a couple of years at least to make a functioning sovereign wealth fund. So now it's a great opportunity for Mongolia to gradually build a legal and institutional mechanism to enforce prudent fiscal policy, and through the functioning sovereign wealth fund mechanism. So then our ultimate goal is, after 2 or 3 years, when the Mongolia finally overcomes the current economic difficulties and is placed back on the stable economic growth path, then the sovereign wealth fund would play a greater function there, allowing Mongolia to save using the great resource revenues and use it as a foundation for future prosperity to shield the economy from volatile economic shocks. And second, to use the savings to make a great fortune and a great foundation to help the future generations of Mongolia. Thank you.
Okay.